All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Shane. I am traveling. I've been traveling around the country for about a year, doing interviews with people, looking at all the beautiful places here in the United States. I have mostly been through the South and then also up the Eastern Seaboard, New England. And then I accessed some healthcare in Massachusetts, which is a great place to get healthcare, by the way, if you're a trans person. That's a tip from me. And then to escape the winter, I came down through the Midwest, and I'm in Texas currently. And I'm a trans person, and I have been interviewing trans, intersex, allied people as well who are adjacent to the community, and also non-binary people. And today I have a guest, and he's going to introduce himself.
I'm Chad. I am a trans man.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Could you pull up actually a little bit more?
Pull up?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. All right. So you're being a trans man. When did you start transitioning?
There was never a transition.
Okay. All right. Tell me about that.
I argued from the time I could talk that no, I'm a fucking boy.
Okay.
From the time I could talk.
Okay.
They put me in a dress one time for Easter.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable. It was the only time they ever did it, and I was fucking...
Okay.
Just uncomfortable.
Sure, you were going to church. And,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And my family, it kind of clicked right then. This one's going to be different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're built like a Mack truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
As we were talking a little bit earlier, and yeah, that was the description.
From elbow to elbow when I'm standing out is 34 inches.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's usually people's like belt size.
Yeah. I can't, like bathroom doors, 24-inch doors,
Oh
I
my.
have to turn and go sideways
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you were in school and stuff, were you like, doing some sports or something to use that size, or?
I dropped out of school real early.
Okay. I actually did too. So we share that.
My first day of 6th grade.
Okay.
Well,
that's pretty early.
It's
to
all
drop out.
It's all new. Everyone's new. It's all new people.
Yeah.
It's completely different. The teacher in one class called my name.
Oh.
And I said, here. And she looked at me all fucked up and was like, well, that's a girl's name. And from then I was like, I went home and I told my mom what happened, and she was like, you don't have to go to school anymore.
Okay.
You can be homeschooled.
Wow.
So.
Wow. So you dropped out in the beginning of 6th grade.
First day.
Wow.
Went to my first day of 6th grade.
Wow.
Cried when I got home. Told my mom everything that happened. Because other kids were fucking with me too.
Yeah.
Kids are relentless. Kids are rude. Kids are mean.
At that age, they're getting rowdy.
They don't give a fuck.
And for you, 6th grade teachers and middle school teachers, you are a blessing in the world.
Yeah.
You must be saints or something.
That's no lie.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But yeah, my mom like completely understood because I had like a whole breakdown over it because it was a rough day.
Yeah, I bet.
Like changing out in the locker room.
Yeah.
That was so uncomfortable.
Wow, all this happened in the first day.
In the first day.
Wow. So what was it like before then? That I guess that was different.
Grade school?
Yeah.
I went to the same grade school, so like everyone just grew up with me.
Okay.
And I was different.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a tomboy.
But suddenly...
6th grade, it's all new people. It was a whole new school district.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd grown up with some people, some other kids who were somewhat accepting of you, or very accepting. I don't know.
Somewhat.
Somewhat. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you move to a new school, and suddenly there's a problem. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I in high school, I didn't go to high school, but I hung out with a lot of people who were in high school.
Okay.
And I would hang out.
Were you like smoking with them?
I didn't. Sometimes.
Okay. Yeah.
I was a bad influence.
I just remembered like the kids when I was in grade school, like the high schoolers, they would always sneak off to smoke or something, you know.
Yeah.
And us little kids would always like go watch them.
See, I've always dipped snuff and I've always chewed.
Okay.
So like hanging out at my friends in school in shop class.
Yeah.
Wood shop, metal shop, FFA.
Sure.
The teachers didn't give a
What's
shit.
FFA?
Future Farmers of
Okay,
America.
sure, okay. I grew up in Alaska and in urban places, which is a strange dichotomy. So I
There's probably not much farming in Alaska.
No, not too much.
Yeah.
There
is, I'm sure.
I mean, we get these giant vegetables and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, but it's limited to some places. Yeah, Matanuska Valley.
I got you.
Yeah. Anyway, so did you grow up on a farm, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
I grew up at my grandparents' house that was out in the country. She had a couple acres.
Yeah.
But all around us was Balcones Canyonland Preserve.
Oh, okay.
Which is a preserve for golden cheek warblers was the main reason for the preserve.
Is that like a endangered species?
Yeah, it's a Central Texas bird that as people moved in livestock, cowbirds came in.
Oh, yeah.
And cowbirds just completely destroyed them.
Those cowbirds, are those little blackbirds?
The little white birds or the little black birds?
Okay. There's like little blackbirds. They're very sleek and shiny.
Yeah.
And they're on all the lines. And there's like huge flocks of them. Those are the cowbirds?
They're similar to the cowbirds.
Okay. I don't know what those are, but there's like huge flocks of them.
Cowbirds look kind of like a miniature crane.
Okay. Oh, I haven't seen those then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they started moving in, and they'll take over a nest. They'll kick the eggs out completely, kick the bird out completely, and just take over the nest.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
They had to designate. They designated thousands of acres for it.
Right.
And
so then they could control the population of the invading bird.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. My aunt and uncle that I actually grew up down the street from.
Yeah.
They had acreage, but they were also surrounded by Balcones Canyonland Preserve.
Okay.
They actually had bird traps.
Was this like a checkerboard kind of
so
preserve?
there was a properties on the main road.
Okay.
But when you go past the main road,
yeah,
there's no neighborhoods, there's no subdivisions. Sure. It's just hills and valleys.
Okay. That's
all preserve.
Yeah, okay. Right. I gotta say that this is such a lovely place. I've lived in Texas before when I was a teenager, but I didn't get out too much. And I've been out to West Texas, which has its own particular kind of beauty, like very arid and all those mesquite trees. Yeah, really rough, really barren. Not a lot of people out there. But there's something about the hill country, which
I love it.
Oh, it is so beautiful. And it is so fun to drive a car around here, too. I gotta say.
I just took my buddy down to Kerrville, which is a little over 100 miles from here.
That's where they have that folk festival.
Yeah, the hippie festival.
Yeah, the hippies, right?
Yeah. Is that too controversial?
No, I think the people in Kerrville might take some objection to that. But, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
It's okay.
It used to be the hippie festival.
Sure.
Back when I was a kid and back in the 80s and 70s.
There's some very famous like recordings that come out of there and important artists and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I just took my
buddy.
It's
kind of yuppie at the moment, I think.
It's very yuppie at the moment.
So expensive.
I was surprised when I went down there.
Right. Yeah.
But
okay, so tell me more about the farm again. We seem to be both on the same wavelength about like tangents.
Yeah, so for sure.
So let's get back. Okay. So tell me about the farm.
So I didn't move into the farm until I was a teenager.
Okay.
Until I was like 13, 14.
Okay.
But I've been raised by both sets of grandparents.
Okay.
My mom and dad were kind of absent.
I understand.
They had their own thing going on.
Right.
But my grandparents on my dad's side took me in.
Okay.
And they were super accepting of me. My mom's side of the family, they were kind of fucking hateful. My mom made really shitty comments when I was growing up. Especially like, because like before I was a man, I was a lesbian.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think all of us went through that.
Yeah, not everybody actually. I know some trans men who went like directly.
No, okay.
Yeah, from like the straight community to being a man. Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I hear what you're saying because most of my peers started out as lesbians or dykes or whatever in the queer community or bi or something like that, and then they moved on. Yeah. So it's like a double coming out.
Yeah.
And sometimes
there's two steps to it.
Yeah. Sometimes family also gets a little worn out by that. I think.
Yeah. Well,
how many times are you going to come out as
something?
Like,
what's going on next?
right. Well, it's a process.
Yeah,
it's a process.
So, like, my mom's side of the family is really country, really redneck.
Okay. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you?
I'm a redneck.
Okay.
I consider myself a redneck.
Okay.
I'm an anomaly.
I don't know what that means, though. Tell me what that means.
We're country. We grew up in the country. I spent summers chopping down cedar trees for fence posts and oak tree for firewood.
Sure.
I mean, both houses.
Those are the dominant trees around here.
Mm-hmm, oak trees and cedar trees.
Mm-hmm. And people love their trees around here.
The trees around Central Texas are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
I don't know if anywhere else quite has the oak trees that we have down here.
What I noticed too about the oak trees, even in the urban places like Austin, you know, you'll be in like a subdivision or something, and people have literally sculpted their old trees to where, you know, you have the canopy coming up, and then the big branches come down
and touch the ground.
And they make sure that they're actually safe, and they trim them in such a way so that they're still okay, which I'm just amazed by that, because I've had to fight people before about cutting down trees. So I am so impressed actually in this red state that people have so much love for the trees around here.
I've been to a lot of different places through the South. I haven't seen trees like Central Texas before. I mean, you have your pine trees, you have your cedar trees. But the oak trees, South Texas has a lot of oak trees too. But Central Texas has oak trees that you can't even wrap your arms around.
I know. They're big.
Cedar Park has a Cedar Park tree, a big old oak tree. That I think it has like 3 or 4 trees growing out of one massive stump.
Sure.
But that's like the heritage oak. Have you heard of the heritage oak? That's in Austin. It's the biggest oak tree in Austin.
Oh, I should check it out before I leave. I did notice that there's some parking lots and various places where people will build around a tree. I mean, I just love that. That's frankly, that's very progressive.
The state will actually come through and tag trees that can never be cut down.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Because it's part of the heritage. It's part of the land. It's part of the place. You know, it's respecting the life around you.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That
Texas
y'all do
is
that.
super big on that.
Yeah, I love that.
Certain parts of Texas.
Yeah.
East Texas, they really don't give a shit out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of development in East Texas.
The land's so cheap out there. You can buy...
You
can buy...
I was thinking of like Houston, like it's just such a big megalopolis, you know.
But I'm talking like Northeast Texas.
Okay.
Like Jasper and Nacogdoches and things like that.
Like by the border there?
Like the swamp.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it starts to get super swampy.
Sure. Like up towards Louisiana.
Like Lake Sam Rayburn and stuff like that.
Okay.
You can buy 20 acres out there for $60,000.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty good. That's prices from when like I was a kid. Yeah, totally. Now it's like, you know, $10,000 and up, you know.
So now that we have the camper and I'm going to remodel it, I've been looking at raw property that just has power and water out there.
Right. Like homesteading.
Exactly. Just starting from scratch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of subdividing going on big ranches.
Okay, yeah.
But out here where I want to be is so expensive.
Yeah.
Like 10 acres for $200,000.
Yeah, it seems like a thing that within an hour of a big metropolitan area,
it's crazy.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
If you're just a regular person,
you can't.
No, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. And part of that is gentrification, obviously, you know, because a lot of money has come into Austin in particular. But some of it, I think, is also like, you know, remote workers. Like they want the city amenities, but then they don't really want to live in the city.
Yeah.
And I understand why people do that. But it messes with people who are already here.
Yeah. That's... See, I grew up in this area.
Yeah.
And I grew up...
And then you can't afford a place to live. It's
I have to move 2 hours away from home, 2 hours away from everybody I know to even afford a place, if not 3 or 4 hours.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
So we were talking about the earlier before we started recording. It took a few recordings, a test to get the sound levels. I hope it sounds okay. Actually, it's hard.
I'm loud.
We're in a small space, and there's a big difference between our voices.
Yeah.
So you were talking about having like a lot of animals and stuff when you were younger, and was that at the farm that
that was my grandparents' farm?
What kind of animals did you have?
We started out, when I first got there, we had 2 horses and we had about 15, 20 cows.
Wow. Okay.
The horses were basically pasture ornaments. No one really rode them till I got out there. But I grew up with horses. My aunt and uncle that I lived down the road from, they have acreage. They always had like 10 horses at a time.
Okay. Wow.
So literally, if I wasn't doing homeschooling work, I was down at their property.
Okay.
I was out. I wasn't hanging out at home.
No.
And what was cool, because you could just burn off on a horse through the whole valley, through the canyon lands.
Because it's public land.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh.
It's so cool.
Earlier I told him to quit snapping, and here I go snapping. I always break my own rules. Anyway, that's so awesome. That sounds so like free. You know,
there's nothing quite as cool as waiting for a big old Texas thunderstorm to go through.
Oh yeah.
Loading up on horses with slickers on.
Does it get dark and cool?
It gets dark and cold and thunder and lightning and freezing cold rain.
Yeah.
Horses are spunky.
Yeah.
You know, it's and burning off through raw land that hasn't been touched in 100 years.
Yeah.
You know, finding the old game trails and shit like that to ride on.
Right.
We actually
and for people who are listening, this is where game goes, not where people go.
No.
Yeah.
There's no foot traffic.
No. This is like where the deer goes and stuff. Yeah.
Monster deer. Huge deer.
Yeah.
But we would burn off whenever we wanted to, wherever we wanted to. We had thousands of acres to roam on.
Yeah, I understand. Like, I actually grew up just above the Arctic Circle when I was a kid.
So y'all have all that raw land.
So there was just land and an ocean and mountains, forever off in the distance. And
so cool.
To grow up like that, I feel for kids who now grow up in urban areas.
Yeah.
I mean, occasionally they might go camping or something like that, but the freedom that we probably experienced is so much different.
Having a spring-fed creek in your backyard.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I grew up with.
Ooh, nice. Was it nice, like cold water?
It was like 70 degrees all year round. 68, 70 degrees.
Interesting.
So, like
Did it have like a sweet taste to it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
It tasted really like limestone.
Oh, like limestone. Okay.
But it did have a sweet taste to it.
Yeah, I've had some water from a artesian well. It actually goes into a parking lot in downtown Olympia, Washington.
Really?
And it comes from I believe the Olympic Mountains, so it comes straight from there.
I've heard of that.
And it is the most delicious water, and people come from everywhere and just fill up in the parking lot.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And it was so sweet. It was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh. And then you go back to city water, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, tap water. What the fuck is this?
Actually, the worst water I've ever had, besides, Kotzebue, Alaska had some pretty bad water in the 70s, that the worst tasting was Chicago.
I can imagine.
Not to talk any crap about Chicago. You all are dealing with a lot there, and it's a wonderful city, so much culture, so much music. I mean, y'all are great. But the water, whew, that was some bad water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It felt like it was like, ooh. Anyway, enough of that. I'll probably cut that. Anyway, City Blues. I love the City Blues. So you had horses, and what else was it?
We had horses. We had cows.
Cows. Now, are these dairy cows or are these meat?
They were meat cows.
Okay.
It wasn't until later we had one dairy cow that we bred.
Yeah.
Just for the milk. And we would get way too much milk out of it.
Was it a Jersey or Holstein?
It was a Jersey.
Okay, Jersey. Oh, those have some attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was so beautiful.
Oh yes,
she was a gorgeous cow.
Yeah, but they're smaller, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Holsteins are so large.
Holsteins are huge, but they're stupid.
Yeah,
they're really dumb for. They've probably
been way overbred,
over domesticated.
Yeah.
They're so dependent on their feedlots and everything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Jerseys are much smaller. They do have a little bit more attitude, but you just gotta,
you figure the cow out.
Yeah,
they all have their own personalities.
Yeah, exactly. Like we were talking about our dogs earlier. Both of our dogs haven't been around a lot of dogs recently, and so they were meeting and they were like, not so sure about you.
They were both anxious.
Yeah, they were both anxious, and there was stuff that went on. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But they're still good boys. They're both very good boys.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you also mentioned in there that you were homeschooling. Okay. How long did you do that, and like what was that about? How did you go about that?
My aunt homeschooled her kids.
Okay.
So I would go to her.
Was that a choice, like a religious?
Yeah, she was a Jehovah's Witness,
Okay.
and she had her own religious
yes
type schooling.
Right.
And I started on that, and I got the hang of it, and I was like, I'm just gonna read my own books.
Okay.
I didn't want to. I've never been too religious.
Okay. Yeah.
It doesn't.
So you kind of made your own curricula
Yeah.
in a way?
Yeah.
Were you able to keep up with like testing and that sort of thing? Okay.
I did for a while, but I ended up dropping out.
Okay. How was math, by the way? Did anybody teach you math?
I'm terrible at math.
Yeah.
I can do your basic math.
Yeah.
But I have a calculator on my phone now.
No, whatever way you can do it is fine. Whatever way you can do it is fine.
Yeah.
I say that because I know a lot of people who have been homeschooled, and usually the mathematics is the part that is behind, because oftentimes the parents don't know how to do the mathematics, and that's where tutors come in. Tutors like me, actually. So I don't know if you're ever interested, but sometimes community colleges will have kind of like these little satellite programs to help people like with a GED or with adult education. And sometimes they'll have math classes, and, that sort of thing.
About 2 years after I dropped out, I was about 17, almost 18.
Okay.
I tried to take my GED.
Yeah.
And I did really, really bad.
Okay.
It was so much pressure. I had so much anxiety that day.
Well, I mean, you basically had a 5th grade education.
Yeah,
so...
exactly. And I did some studies, as much as a kid can do.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you were kind of avoiding the Jehovah's Witness thing.
And
you were dealing with a lot there.
My grandparents worked full time, so they didn't have time to deal with me.
Right.
And mom and dad, they were...
To deal with you. Oh, friends. Yeah, I know that language.
Yeah.
I know that language.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Made me who I am.
Totally, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take a breath on that.
Hard.
Yeah, that's hard. That's some hard shit right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So... You're 17, 18, you're taking the GED and you do poorly.
I do poorly.
Yeah.
I was always the poor kid.
Right.
It was a struggle growing up.
Yeah.
My grandparents on my mom's side raised me, my brother, my sister, and my 3 cousins.
Oh my goodness.
All at the same time.
Wow.
Because our parents were they were on drugs.
Right.
They were doing their own thing.
What era was this?
This was the early 90s.
The early 90s. Okay. Yeah. So there's like crack. There's a lot of crack around. There's meth.
They were big on meth and cocaine.
Okay.
Yeah. And alcohol.
Yeah.
My grandmother and my grandfather were both alcoholics, but they were functioning alcoholics.
Yeah.
They would go to work every day, but when they came home, it's beer time.
I understand.
And they'd drink a 12-pack, 18-pack, whatever.
Yeah, I understand. And I'll tell you, this is my little confession. I used to be like that person as well. Yeah.
I used to be that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy. Alcohol is everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Everyone's drinking.
Yeah.
And
it's
good fun. For you. Good for you.
It's fun, right?
Yeah.
And until you're, drinking alone and...
Until you have to pop a beer at 6 a.m. because your nerves are not steady.
Or in the shower, or...
I am a fan of shower beer. So I've always, when I've worked for big companies, I've always worked out of town.
You would be such a bad influence on me.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't hang out like that.
Anyway.
But you know what? Actually, probably not, because I'm super respectful of that.
Oh, yeah, don't worry. Don't worry.
My grandmother was actually a rehab counselor.
Yeah.
In a family full of addicts. She was a rehab counselor.
Sure.
But that was her own... She used to be an addict. That was her own doing.
Right.
But...
Well, the best counselors are former addicts.
Exactly.
Really.
And she was a hell of a counselor.
Yeah, I bet.
I've actually met people in passing.
Yeah.
In the world. I used to do drugs.
Yeah.
I had really dark 7 years.
Okay.
Where I was doing my own thing too.
Sure.
But I've met people in passing who actually went to programs that my grandmother led. And they all have... Evelyn was a fucking wonderful woman. She was hard on us, but she taught us. She made sure we were okay. And she was very passionate about what she did.
Yeah.
Very passionate.
What was she? Your aunt or?
That's my grandmother.
Okay, your grandma. Okay.
On my dad's side.
Okay, so your paternal grandma was kind of somebody who kept it all together.
Mm-hmm. She was the matriarch in the family.
Okay.
And so both sides of my family are addicts.
Yeah.
My dad's side of the family, they're really into meth and alcohol. My mom's side of the family, it could be anything from prescription pills to meth to alcohol.
Yeah.
To cocaine.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own thing.
Yeah. So it seems like you're away from that, though.
Yeah, I've had to separate myself a lot from that.
Yeah.
I barely talk to anyone anymore.
Yeah,
and I've been sober for 7 years.
Wow.
Well, going on 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Sober, clean.
Yeah.
I don't do hard drugs anymore.
I understand.
Yeah.
So you drink beer every once in a while, maybe do something a little lighter.
A little adventurous sometimes.
But you don't do the big stuff.
Yeah, I don't do meth or anything like that anymore.
Right. Great. Great.
I quit that a long time ago.
Yeah, good.
Woke up my birthday weekend, woke up from a bender, and I had to go to work. And I was just sitting there thinking the whole day at work, why am I doing this to myself? Why do I make myself feel this bad?
Right.
I feel good for a minute, but then I feel terrible after.
Right.
There's the guilty conscience of, I'm doing drugs. And then there's this the come down of it.
Yeah.
Because there was about...
You're talking physically?
Yeah, physical come down. And there's also an emotional and mental come down.
Sure.
Because
it affects your brain chemicals.
Yeah, so meth kind of stifles your emotions.
Okay.
You're just even.
Sure.
You're an even keel. You're not happy. You're not sad.
Sure.
You're just cruising along.
Sure.
Nothing really gets to you.
Sure. Sounds like testosterone. No.
You know, I've never taken a single hormone.
Oh, really?
Never.
I would not have guessed that.
This is natural.
I would not have guessed
You can't tell me the shit's not natural.
I would not have guessed that, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what you meant by you never made a transition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so everyone just kind of accepted it for what it was. When it started really coming out in the news about trans people and stuff like that.
When was that?
This was back in the early 2000s.
Okay, and who were they talking about?
Just the trans movement in general was starting to come out.
Okay.
There was finally a name for what I was.
Right.
Everyone just thought I was different. Everyone just thought I was a little off. But then there was finally, no, there's other fucking people like me, sons of bitches.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, the first trans men I was meeting were in the early 90s. They were coming out of, like we said earlier, lesbian or dyke spaces, initially. And, but it was just I could count them on my finger, in a big metro area. And then, but it didn't really hit the larger community, like knowledge until like the late 90s.
Early 2000s, late 90s.
Yeah, and that took a lot of activism to add the T to the LGBT, right? Lots of people were very resistant about that.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of going back to that a little bit.
Yeah, there's like a big riff and everything.
Yeah, and lots of gay groups that are more conservative that are saying, "Oh, we don't want the trans people around." And...
I've noticed in my circle that lesbians hate me.
Yes.
Lesbians fucking hate me. The
and,
minute they see me, they're like, "Fuck that guy."
Yeah, and I've actually talked about that a bit on this this series. Is that there's something called lesbian separatism that was around when I came out, which was in the late 80s, and as a dyke, as a lesbian, and they tried to separate themselves from men as much as possible.
And then you turn a female into a man, and it's like,
they considered those early trans men that I knew. They suddenly became the enemy, traitors, that sort of thing, and completely kicked out of their social communities. They might not have been lesbians anymore or whatever, but you would think that friendships, like true friendships, would endure. Because we as trans people, we might change a little bit physically or our social roles in your case, but we don't change who we are fundamentally. Yeah. I didn't become suddenly a different person.
No, I've been the same since forever.
Yeah.
I've been the same since forever. I've always dressed the same. I never had phases or fads. I was never gothic or anything like
Sure,
that.
sure.
I've been country the whole time.
Okay.
Just since So when I was younger, my maternal grandmother,
Yeah.
she wasn't very open to the idea of me being, at that point in time, I was just a lesbian.
Sure.
I was like, I was like 12, 13 years old, but everyone kind of knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. I know.
Totally. I was...
Were you, like, sequestered, like, at your little table and everybody else was doing their thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
But it got to the point
it's almost like they think they're going to catch something from you. It's like,
you're going to catch the gay.
That's how I was treated. And I was like, I'm just trying to eat lunch.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about you. I'm trying to be me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it came such a point of contention of what clothes I wanted to wear.
Okay.
Because they wanted to put me in pink shirts. They always put me in jeans because that was my thing. Is I don't want to fucking wear anything.
Well, I mean, if you're in the country, why would you put on a skirt?
Exactly.
You can jump on a horse.
Exactly. And but they always
You're not going to ride English style.
I've actually done that before.
Have you?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
I worked at a barn.
Okay.
That was my first job.
Did you do like, dressage kind of stuff?
No. I only had to work horses.
Okay.
I would get them warmed up for jumping and stuff like that. I just get them leggy.
Okay.
I would hop in the saddle and I would trot them around.
Yeah.
I'd canter them around.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
Just get their legs loosened up.
Yeah.
Get them ready.
Like any athlete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You got to warm them up.
Yep. Right.
And I did a couple of trail rides in English, but Western was my main.
Yeah.
I've jumped a couple horses. That's pretty intense.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like over the water.
We didn't do water or anything like that. We just had a regular arena.
Okay.
We had jumps set up, different heights, and but there is like width, like you can set up 2 jumps back to back and make them jump over it.
I am so far removed from any of that culture.
Yeah.
English or Western or anything like that. But I'm always amazed by, sometimes that stuff will come on TV, like late at night on ESPN or something. They're doing something, I don't know. But, I've been at people's houses where they have cable and I'll watch it. I'll stay up all night. I'm usually not around TV, so I'm like fascinated by it sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I find it really thrilling. Yeah, even dog shows and stuff. Like, how they bring out like these just gorgeous dogs and they're just so well trained. I'm just so amazed by all that stuff.
There's a real sense of pride.
Yeah.
When the horse that you've been working does what you ask it to do the first time you ask it to do it and does it beautifully.
Right.
There's a real sense of pride there.
So what I've heard from some, horse owners is that they're kind of like giant dogs.
They really are.
Okay, they are. Okay.
But they're dangerous dogs.
Yeah, right.
So it's...
How much do they weigh? I mean, like 1,000 pounds or something?
1,200 to 1,500 pounds.
There you go.
You have some smaller horses that are about 800 pounds,
sure.
like Arabs and stuff like that.
Sure. I've seen little teeny tiny ones.
There's
too.
miniature horses too.
Yeah.
There's miniature horses. There's Shetland ponies. There's ponies, and then there's horses. There's your regular, everyday horses, and then there's draft horses and warm bloods.
Right, the big
and
ones.
And you get bigger as you go.
Yeah. I've been around those big ones before.
They are the best.
Yeah.
They're the sweetest. Miniature horses fucking suck.
Okay.
They have a problem with everything because they're small.
Yeah. Well, they've been probably... I mean, yeah, all the problems were probably bred into them. Yeah. I once would drive by this farm in this valley outside of the Bay Area, and there was a horse farm, and it had all those little tiny horses. And sometimes I would park, and in that area, it's like super rich people, and they really don't want you to park out there.
Yeah.
But I couldn't help it. I had to look at those little tiny horses.
Yeah. They're cute. They're adorable, but they're fucking menace to society.
Yeah. I mean, even big horses, they have so many problems. This is just what I've heard, but like if you just look at them wrong, they'll get sick or something or
So the first horse I ever had, I bought when I was 15 from an auction.
Oh, wow.
That was the barn I was working at. I bought an off the track thoroughbred.
Oh.
But he
thoroughbred.
But he wasn't a racehorse.
You're a speed demon, aren't you?
He was a pit horse.
Oh, I don't know what that means.
He was the horse that transferred the racehorse from the stall to the front to the start line.
So it would walk another horse. Okay.
And the reason
Interesting.
they were getting rid of him is because he was lazy.
Oh.
And I had it figured out. I tried to work him in an arena. I did everything to try to get that horse to move.
Okay.
Wouldn't budge.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's take him out of the arena and see what he does. Perfect horse.
Hippie horse. No.
Yeah, yeah.
I had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
So you took it out of the arena
And took it on trail rides.
Okay, and then it just wanted to be out in nature.
Didn't want to be in an arena.
Yeah.
As soon as you put
Excellent.
him in an arena, he's done.
Yeah.
You couldn't do anything on him. I've tried to drag this horse around.
I agree.
I got under this horse's butt and picked up his back legs and moved him.
I'm with you, lazy horse.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the arena, that's like a cubicle. Who wants to sit in a cubicle?
And you just do left-handed circles. Sometimes you do right-handed circles.
Boring.
But
That was a smart horse.
Yeah. He wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But he was a great horse, but when the weather changed, he would stress out and he would colic.
Oh.
And that's actually how he died.
That's like a respiratory thing?
No, it's a gut thing.
Oh, okay.
Where they stop processing food and they just have a mound of food in their stomach.
So it just goes sour.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And they can't poop. They can't pass gas.
Okay.
They'll roll. They'll get down and roll because it makes their belly feel better.
Okay.
But when they do that, they'll twist a gut.
Oh.
And there's...
God, it just made me shake.
Yeah, and it's either you let your horse die painfully, you put it down, or you pay thousands of dollars on a surgery that might not work.
Right.
Right. And that's the situation I came down to with him. I walked him for 2 days.
Okay.
I walked and walked and walked and walked.
Hoping that it would unfurl.
Because that's the way you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to walk them and it'll make them poop.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that's why maybe besides diet, some truckers will get like gastrointestinal problems because they're just sitting all day, just right.
And you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be active.
Yep.
But I walked him for 2 days, and we finally took him to the vet, and they were like, this is your option.
Right.
And I went home that night to think about it, what I wanted to do. I didn't have the money for the surgery, and I didn't know if I wanted to take him out of the vet or anything like that. I was going over with my grandparents what to do.
Right.
And he ended up dying that night.
Okay.
And that first horse dying.
Yeah.
Too early. That hurts.
Right.
That's painful.
Yeah.
That's worse than a dog dying.
Yeah.
Wow. That's your friend. Me and him, I can't tell you how many times I cried to that horse. The good times I had with that horse. The bad times I had with that horse. That horse broke my ankle. But I loved him. That was my buddy.
Did he step on you or something?
I was going to get on him, and he jumped up, and I came out of the stirrup, and he kicked out, and just kicked the shit out of my ankle and shattered it.
Sure.
And
I had a friend who was stepped on once by a horse.
I get stepped on all the time. Yeah. That's why I wear steel-toe boots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. Vibration.
It's okay. It's like we're inside of a drum. Whoops. We're inside of a drum currently.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Oh God.
It's been a while. It's been over 15 years.
Yeah.
So.
But the way you were describing like the freedom of being out on a trail, I mean, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like that goes right into your heart.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had some really fucking cool experiences horseback.
Yeah.
But actually, when I moved in to my grandparents, I was about 16, and I had pretty much dropped out and stopped homeschooling at that point. Okay. So they were like, well, you're going to go to work then.
Yeah. And you were 16, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's appropriate age to go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
And I started working with my buddy on the ranch he worked at.
Yeah.
And I watched for 6 months these horses go from healthy horses to just skinny, scarred up, not acting right.
What?
Yeah, just slowly went downhill.
Why is that?
They were starving.
Oh.
So I finally stopped in there, and I asked the woman, I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And she told me her husband had got deported back to Mexico.
Oh.
She has 5 kids. She's a
just
full-time
couldn't afford
student.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, well,
at that point, a rescue needs to come in and.
Well, I asked her. I said, "What do you want for the horses?" She said, "Take them."
Okay.
And we went and got my buddy's stock trailer, and I loaded up those horses.
Blessings on that woman for giving up the horses.
Yeah. Kudos for her.
Yeah.
loaded up the horses, took them to my grandparents.
Yeah.
And my grandma walked outside, and her first words were, "What the fuck did you do?"
Oh, yeah.
And I said, "Just look at them before you get mad. Just look in the trailer."
Yeah.
And they did, and they were like, "Okay.
Okay. Good.
They're your responsibility now.
Good.
You're gonna feed them. You're gonna take care of them."
Yeah.
And I did.
And that's a lot of work, and that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. A lot of money.
Yep.
10 horses.
Yeah.
10 starving horses.
Yeah.
I had to get the vet out.
Did behavioral problems come up because of that?
My horse, the horse that I chose that
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna sell off, that was gonna be my baby.
Sure.
When I got him back to the bullpen,
Mm-hmm.
I took a sack of feed and I just run it down the trough.
Yeah.
He got in the middle
Like
of the
with
trough.
the chickens?
Yeah, exactly.
We were talking about the chickens earlier.
Yeah, he got in the middle of the trough.
Oh, no, it was the
cats. The cats.
Sorry.
Yeah. I channeled my grandmother.
I have some chickens on the brain because there was some chickens up the road. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I used to raise some chickens and ducks and geese up in Alaska, and I've been just missing them so much.
Yeah.
I love chickens.
They're cool.
Yeah.
They're smart.
Yeah.
They say chickens used to be T-Rexes, I've heard people say.
Right. Yeah.
And I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Chickens are ruthless.
You know, I loved all those different birds, and they all just had so different personalities. Each of them was just so different, and I particularly loved my gander, the male goose, whatever, you know. I don't know how to say these things, but you know, the male. He really did watch over them.
Yeah.
And in Alaska, you really do have to watch out.
Yeah, you got big birds out there.
Oh,
big birds of prey.
We have everything out there. I mean,
bears and
lynx and coyotes and wolves just down the road. I mean, geez. So yeah, when everybody was eating, he was always up there. You know, always looking.
Yep.
At first, we had some problems. Right?
Of course, they're mean.
Yeah, because they can come after you or my dog or whatever. You know, scare him. But then we were okay, you know, as long as he had his role and he took to it really well, and I just really loved him. Yeah. So.
Birds are cool. I love birds.
Yeah.
My brother actually just ordered like 100 birds.
Oh, chickens?
He's got chickens, ducks, and now he got 72 quail eggs.
Oh yeah, I was wondering if you were going to say quail. Yeah. I heard quail were pretty easy.
Quail are super easy.
Yeah.
And they have a super high turnover rate.
Yeah.
So like
they grow really fast.
They grow really fast. They start laying really fast, and you can process them for meat and start your next round.
Right, because they're really little.
Or you could keep your breeders.
Yeah.
And process the rest for meat and just keep the rounds going.
Right, because people will buy them at a premium price too, compared to like chicken and stuff. Yeah.
My brother has a big family. He has 3 boys.
Okay.
And they go through
each out of house and home.
Yeah. One's a teenager, and they're
When I was supposedly a girl, I was really small. I'm still small, but I was really small. And I remember my brother, when he started to go through puberty, he had a real growth spurt, and he's like a foot taller than me, and he became like a football player and stuff. And I just remember him just eating constantly, and he was eating stuff like hot dogs and just whatever he could get into his gullet.
Something.
Just anything, you know? Anyway, so strange. Anyway, so you have not gone through a medical, speaking of the physical, you have not gone through a medical transition.
No.
Okay.
No.
So can you kind of define for yourself what being trans is about to you?
It's the way I feel. It's who I am.
Yeah. Okay. Do you even have a trans identity, or are you just sort of past that and you're just male, for instance?
I'm just male.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because some people are like that. Like, they don't really connect with the rest of the trans community. They don't...
I've hung out with one other trans guy.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I'm number 2, right?
Yep.
I'm second one. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right.
And
well, I'm so pleased that you accepted... being interviewed.
Yeah.
And it could be that I pixelate you or not. You know, that's still up for you to decide.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're in a small town here.
Yeah.
In a very red state.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, so we do live in a red state. We're currently in a red state, and you are a trans person in a small town. So we were talking a little bit off camera, and you are somewhat you said you're a libertarian. That's how you describe yourself. Could you talk about your politics a little bit?
I think everyone should have the right to choose what they want to do.
Okay.
I think everyone should have the right to a gun if that's what they want.
Okay.
I think money shouldn't be as taxed as it is.
Okay.
I hate that we're taxed on our paycheck, we're taxed at home, we're taxed on the food, we're taxed on the gas.
Right.
We're taxed on everything we do.
Everything.
And we're paying for it with taxed money.
Right.
That's so uncalled for.
That's right.
I agree with some taxes.
It's just, it gets a bite every time. Every time we do anything.
It's a little more and a little more, and it adds up.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. It's interesting because it seems to hit like people who are poor more too. Even if income tax, let's say, isn't taken out. There are all the other taxes. And those taxes are a greater percentage of that person's, assets.
Yeah.
So, so rich people, they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care.
They don't care.
No, and they could usually write stuff off.
Exactly.
And, and all those little taxes that everybody else pays, those are just nothing to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a larger percentage.
It's the middle class and lower class. It's like, fuck, dude.
Yeah. Right. Right.
We're drowning.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I believe there should be certain taxes for like roads and schools and stuff like that. But I don't think everything we do needs to be taxed.
Okay.
I think there should be a little more freedom with money.
Yeah.
I
would also like to see the taxes that are taken in have more accountability, like not to a general fund, a slush fund, more directly toward certain things.
So, towards America.
Yeah.
I don't want to see money when we're in a bad situation. Millions donated to Ukraine. You know what I mean? That's where are we right now?
Yeah.
America's drowning right now.
I don't know so much about that because I've been on my trip, so I haven't kept up with the situation in Ukraine. But for me, what upsets me is like so much of our tax money went to corporate bailouts.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And those were supposed to be like
bailing out the banks.
Loans.
Fuck that.
Or the airlines or ad nauseum or the churches. I mean, the churches.
Oh, the tax-free churches. Don't fucking get me started.
The churches don't pay taxes, but then we're giving them tax money. How does that make sense?
And we're donating to them and we're doing all kinds of stuff.
It's just awful.
I'm not a religious guy.
Yeah.
I believe in Mother Nature.
Okay. Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
I was raised with my.
Well, you rejected the what was it, the Jehovah's Witness. And why did you reject them?
I studied with them for a while. But
you kind of had to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would go to like Kingdom Hall meetings, and I would go to like the Bible studies and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're pretty aggressive with recruitment.
They're pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
But
have they ever come like knocking on your door again? Like, why don't you come back?
And I'll talk to them.
Okay.
And I'll tell them my experience, and then I'll tell them why I quit. The deeper you go, the weirder it gets.
Okay.
Everyone's like, oh, Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult. I wouldn't call them a cult, but they definitely have their own way of doing things.
They're more sect-like.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll say that as somebody who also grew up a little bit strange. I grew up in Christian Science. So that's also kind of more of a sect.
Yeah.
It's not quite in with mainline Christianity. It really isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my maternal grandmother, I was raised Baptist by a Catholic.
Okay.
my grandmother actually went to Catholic school and was going to be a nun.
Okay. Sure.
Up until she met her first husband.
Okay.
She ran away with him and got married to him the first night.
Okay.
Sorry, I snapped.
No, it's
I'm
okay.
sorry. It's a habit.
You did it way over here. Okay.
And then when I moved in with my grandparents on my dad's side,
Yeah.
my paternal grandparents, they were Lutheran. And they were severely Lutheran.
Oh, wow. You just have like a crazy quilt of religious here. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then you were hinting at being like pagan or something like that.
I believe in Mother Nature.
Okay. Would you describe that as pagan or you're just free floating?
I'm free floating.
Okay.
I believe what you put out is what you get back.
Okay.
To an extent. I'm
So
putting a lot out, not a lot's coming back.
Not a lot of labels or formal kind of thing, just nature.
I believe in Mother Nature.
You on your horse.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
I believe in the sun, I believe in the moon, I believe in the rain. You know what I mean?
Sweet.
The universe has its own balance.
Yeah. Do you do any kind of like honoring of changing of the seasons, or do you think about that like when it happens and the turn of the year?
You have to respect what's around you.
Yeah.
I kind of believe in a higher power. There's something out there.
Okay.
I don't know if it's aliens. I don't know if it's God. I don't know what it is.
Sure.
But the universe is huge, and we're only one solar system in the universe.
Right.
There's something out there.
When you look up at the sky on a dark, night when there's not like a lot of light pollution or whatever, or maybe the moon isn't out or something like that, or
the stars out here are beautiful.
Yeah, and I can imagine
it's dark out here at night.
Yeah. And it's dry, relatively dry. So I'm imagining you could probably see the Milky Way probably pretty good, right?
Some nights, certain nights you can.
Yeah.
When there's no moon out and there's no clouds, it's a real still night, you could start to see it.
Yeah. That was one of the things that fascinated me when I was a kid. I would lay in the snow on my back and watch the Big Dipper kind of spin around the sky. And there was also the Aurora Borealis.
I was going to ask about that. How, is that just as mind-blowing as everyone says it is?
It is. It's like kind of this green color here, and then it will turn kind of almost like that, a pink color, and it will kind of, it's kind of like knives or feathers coming down at you like this.
Okay.
Yeah, and it kind of swirls too. But when I really like it, when it's really dramatic to me, is when it's kind of stabbing down at you from the sky. I love that. And a friend of mine was joking, and they were totally right about this, that most people up in Alaska see the aurora when they're going out to the outhouse.
I gotcha. Yeah.
It's true. Because you're kind of walking through the woods, and then, oh, hi.
I mean, pretty cool though.
Yeah,
I mean, I've always wanted to see that. I've always wanted to go to Alaska.
Yeah. I always think of it as like I have some Norse in my background, Norwegian, and I think of like their cosmology, and they talk about like a rainbow bridge and that sort of thing. And I'm wondering if that was their rainbow bridge, is seeing the aurora.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so I hope you're able to see the aurora at some point.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you can check something called the Aurora Forecast, and that's out of the University of Alaska, and I'm going to put a link to it here.
Okay.
If you're in some northern states, like if you're visiting somebody up there, like Minnesota or the Dakotas and stuff, up there, Michigan, you can sometimes see the aurora.
I've heard that.
Yeah, that far south. So if you're ever up there, visiting somebody, you can maybe see it.
I've always wanted to go to the Arctic Circle.
Oh yeah.
I want to see how badass I am.
Yeah.
I want to see if I can make it in the last frontier.
You should come up.
The truly last wild place in America.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. Like, I think the concept of frontier is interesting because there's been people living there for 15,000 years.
Yeah, for sure. Is it Inuit?
There's a lot of different people up there. Inuit is one. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
Dene,
okay, yeah.
Tlingit. There's many peoples that live
there. It's a big area. I imagine there's a lot of different cultures.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. Lots of different languages. But yeah, people have been living there for, since there was a land bridge. Since there were giant glaciers all over the continent.
Yep.
So to say it's a frontier is, that's one perspective that isn't often appreciated in Alaska. They don't like that because it erases the entire history of the place.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
It's okay though. That's language that people use. I mean, it's part of our state song. That calling it the last frontier. So,
yeah.
Luckily though, people are kind of getting rid of that idea and respecting Alaska Native cultures more.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what else can we talk about? What do you do for a living?
I do construction.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I can see you're a big dude, and people would probably want to hire you.
Yeah.
Not me. You're like twice my size. I love it. You're just so big.
Yeah.
You're so big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you work out at all, or just like...
Just work.
I know. That's so...
Hard work.
That's so bourgeois that I say work out.
I work out 8 hours a day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I used to be a baker, and so I never wanted to do anything after work except
for sure
for drink a beer or something, and fall asleep. But yeah, when people do hard labor, you're not working out. You're just doing work.
I've never been this big before.
Okay.
I put on like 100 pounds with COVID. Okay. I got sick. I started having gallbladder issues.
Okay.
And lost my job because
Was that
of it.
from COVID, or did you have COVID? Or?
I've had COVID 4 times.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It gets easier every time.
Okay. Okay. Is that how you got the gallbladder problems? Or?
No, it runs in my family.
Okay.
My sister had them, my aunt had them, my grandma had them.
That can be quite painful, I've heard.
It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I'd like to think I'm pretty tough.
Mm-hmm.
I can put up with a lot.
Yeah.
It would have me in a ball crying.
Yeah, I know. I've heard that and it's not often diagnosed. Because
it took like
it's not tested for.
It took like 6 months of going to the emergency room until I finally saw a doctor, and I was like, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
I actually had one emergency room doctor after I'd already gotten the confirmation that I had gallstones and I was having
biliary... you had stones.
Yeah,
too.
I was having biliary colic.
Okay, all right.
It was chewing on the stones.
Okay.
I had one doctor tell me after that was confirmed, he was like, "I don't know what these doctors are talking about. You don't have gallstones." And it's like, so what's going on?
Yeah.
And I've had it out since then. I've had surgery.
Okay.
I had emergency surgery.
Okay.
Emergency.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Emergency surgery.
Yeah. I thought I was just sick.
Yeah.
And then my kidneys started hurting.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm going to go get this checked out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good.
And they did some sort of scan or something like that. And I had just, a stone had just gone to the tube that feeds into your or I forget what organs there are, but everything's kind of connected.
Yeah.
I had just had a stone block that tube.
Okay.
And they told me if I had eaten one more time, I probably would have ruptured it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, what else can we talk about? So, what kind of construction do you do? What's your role there?
Right now I do home remodels.
Okay.
There's
a lot of that going on.
A lot of that going on right now.
Yeah.
But I've done a lot of stuff.
Okay.
I've done welding.
Okay, so you're kind of a jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades.
Okay.
I can do everything from build you a house to shoe your horse.
Okay. All right. There you go.
Yeah. The only thing I don't work on is watches.
Okay. How are you at? Well, that's like.
I don't have the fine skills for that.
It's like doing microsurgery or something. Yeah. I do know somebody who does work on watches, and she has to have like a big magnifying glass, and it's like little tiny little things. Anyway, I can't imagine doing that. Anyway, so you're kind of a jack of all trades. Where are you going with that? Are you going to get? Are you going to maybe? I'm just thinking. Are you part of a union? No, you're not part of a trade union.
I do too many extracurricular activities.
I understand. Are you thinking about having your own company or something like that? If you're a jack of all trades, you can kind of see the bigger picture.
Me and my buddy tried to go into business last year, but the stress got to us and we had a falling out.
Okay.
Because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm Googling and watching YouTube videos.
It's almost like a marriage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm doing all kinds of research and he's just kind of doing his own thing.
Okay.
He's
So you were doing a little bit more work than he was. Okay.
He can't talk to people like I do.
Okay.
He can't put together bids like I do.
Okay.
He can't do that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
it was literally me doing all the footwork.
Okay.
And
too
and the labor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so hard at the beginning of like a business because you have to kind of take on all those roles.
You have to eat it.
Yeah. Whereas, once you're established, you can get other people, bring them in, and they can do some of the more, physical work and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then you can just manage. But yeah, at the beginning, it's so tough.
That was one of the falling outs we had. He was like, "Well, I can hire someone to do your job." I said, "Fucking do it. I'm out."
Oh, really? You're doing all the work, and you can hire somebody. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad you got out of that situation.
Yeah.
Then. Okay, so we were talking a little bit about, let's see, politics and then religion, and let's talk a little bit about politics again. So you were talking about being libertarian and taxes. Anything more you want to say about that? I would expect that being here in Texas, there would be a little bit of maybe of a rub with some more people who are more conservative. So where do you think that difference is between the way you believe and the way that maybe more people who are more conservative believe, that are around you?
Not as open-minded.
Okay, about what specifically?
Everything.
Okay. We just had an interesting visitor.
Yeah. I didn't expect that. Unexpected visitors.
He kind of scared the crap out of my dog, too. I'm glad that he left.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So you were mentioning earlier, I forget what we were even talking about, frankly.
Yeah.
You were mentioning earlier something about being, my being kind of like the only other trans person besides somebody else that you've ever been around. Mm-hmm. And so your knowledge of trans people is probably pretty limited. And then how do you do, I guess, socially? And I'm saying that as somebody, just because of my history of being around a lot of trans people. Mm-hmm. Not always. Like, I've lived rurally. I've certainly been without, quote unquote community. But I can't imagine, like, kind of going through stuff just by myself. Mm-hmm. Like, totally.
No support
And that
groups,
is you. No. That sounds like it's your experience. Mm-hmm. So I want to hear about that.
At one point in time, I was really open about being trans.
Yeah.
I separated it at work because people get weird in the industry.
Okay.
But I was working in East Texas.
Okay.
For an industrial temp agency.
Okay. Could you speak up a little?
Sorry.
Yeah.
And the guys I was working with, we were staying in hotel rooms. We were working out of town.
Oh.
And the guys I was working with found out.
Sure.
And there was an attack.
Oh, okay.
And from then, I kind of stopped being so open. But after that, it was kind of like, I was kind of ashamed of being trans.
Okay. Yeah.
And I just haven't been open about it anymore since then. People... So, like, my close friends, I tell them about it.
Okay.
I have some friends from school, still, that they've known me since I was a girl.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But if you've always kind of been like this...
I've always been like this.
Yeah, I can't imagine that people would suddenly be like, oh, now you're weird.
Yeah.
So,
like, certain people, like, okay, people who have found out that haven't been my friends...
Yeah.
Immediately treat me differently.
Okay.
Immediately.
How do they treat you that's different?
They don't talk the same around me. They talk like they're talking around a girl.
Okay.
They talk like they're talking around a female.
Okay.
They're not so rough and tumble, and I'm fucking rough and tumble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been there. I've done that.
Right.
And it's just, I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah. And two, if you see that switch like right in front of you, mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's right. Yeah. Literally, you could see it on their face.
Right.
And I've had to prove myself a lot. Two people I grew up with.
You mean like at work?
Mm-hmm.
Like lifting heavy shit or something? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. My uncle on my mom's side of the family, he was pretty standoffish to me until I got serious about it. I don't know how I got serious about it, but there was finally a name for it.
Okay.
And he was
Did you change your name, by the way?
I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
I haven't done it yet.
How about socially? Have you changed it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just not legally?
Not legally.
Okay.
Yeah. My, my cousins, when I was about 13, 14, they were like, we can't call you your name anymore.
Yeah.
You're too manly.
Okay.
People are looking at you fucked up. We have to come up with a different name.
Wow.
And we went...
So people around you were like, we can't call you by your name anymore.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Wow, that's intense.
But, like, my uncle, when I was labeled, he was like, well, if you want to be a man, you have to come prove it to me that you're a man. And I was like...
What?
What do you mean? And he was like, come build this fence. And I was like, I'll fucking build your fence, motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's all it takes? Fuck yeah, I'll build your fence. And in a weekend...
If only it were so easy.
If only it were so easy. And I spent the whole weekend out there, and I dug holes, and I set posts, and I welded, and I stretched wire. And I did it all with one person to help me.
Wow.
And after that, he was kind of like, okay.
Yeah, stretching the fence by yourself would be near impossible, I would think.
It's a pain in the ass. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've built a lot of fence. That was my second job was actually building fence.
Okay. Yeah.
I worked for an old man in Briggs.
Okay.
And he was like, I didn't tell him at first, but someone let it slip when he was around. And
let it slip.
It was immediately downhill from there.
Yeah, I always think it's interesting how people think it's their information to share.
I hate that.
Yes.
I fucking hate it.
Yeah, because it's gossipy.
That's all it is gossip.
And
let me tell you, they're not a real boy.
Right.
Fucking shut up.
And what I'm hearing from you is that it's a lot of men that are doing this, right? Mm-hmm. And personally, and this is very essentialist of me, I don't think that is very manly behavior to be gossiping. What are y'all doing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Have some respect.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's been through a lot, you know?
I'll show up and outman you.
That's right. That's right. I will too. And I'll steal your lady.
Yeah, no shit. Mr. Steal Your Girl, right fucking here.
That's right. You know it would be true. Put her there. I know it.